Welcome back, and welcome to something a little bit different. On Sunday the 4th, we got our first look at NLT's new game, Symphony of the Serpent. After the trailer dropped, I got the chance to sit down with NLT in his Discord with a live audience to discuss the main changes coming to Symphony of the Serpent. We ended up talking for nearly 2 hours about many different topics, including Patreon and the adult gaming industry as a whole. Here is a little segment of that conversation, and I hope you enjoy. Just a few questions about the city that is going to be. What's the city called? And then like some of the buildings talk about the nightclub, and I see there's a nurse or hospitals and
Yeah, the city is called Escovia, which is in the country of Osira, which is basically Egypt, but not really Egypt. It's basically like, in The Simpsons, there's Springfield, which exists in the US. Well, there really is no Springfield. It's all fictional. So this world is completely fictional. It doesn't exist in a real place. But if you were to, it's basically inspired heavily by Egypt, obviously. But it's kind of a mixture between not just Egypt, but Dubai, like the city of Dubai. If the city of Dubai was in Egypt, you would get Escovia. And so that's the city. Just reading off all the different locations, there's the red light district, which has the Velvet Mirage, which is the nightclub. Then there's a restaurant called Beer Tits and Food, BTNF, which is basically a Hooters parody. Then there's the Moan Zone Theater, which is the XXX shop. Then outside the red light district is Apex Tower, which is like the big giant skyscraper. In there's Sensler Labs, which is Amanda Bancroft's company that makes the love potion. Then there's the office of Olivia Choi, which is the therapist in the game. Then there's Anklife Hospital. That's going to be like the hospital in the game. Emerald Ridge Arena, which is kind of it might be kind of like a casino / sports arena, like in entertainment complex. Then there's the housing community on the outskirts of Escovia called Woodstead, which is a guarded housing community that only allows uninfected people inside. Although it's not purely uninfected people, the infection is actually divided into 3 subtypes. And there's actually quite a lot of lore behind how this virus has spread throughout the world and who's allowed to go where. But yeah, that'll open up more in the game. But there's a housing community and a church inside of this highly guarded housing community. Then there's Luxuria Plaza, which is just basically the high rises for condos. Then there's the desert, which is the forest or the jungle of Treasure of Nadia and the Genesis Order, but now it's a desert. And the desert's going to have a lot of underground tombs and stuff from, as you would expect in a ancient Egypt-themed environment. Amira's mansion. Amira's the governor of Escovia, so she's going to have her mansion. Long Dong Emporium, which is the shop. Then the plan is to have a river, which is basically the Nile River, but it's called the Kamar Delta, as to not directly copy anything that exists in the real world. Then there's apartments, and then there's a scrapyard. So those are the basic environments, and then there's going to be sub-environments inside of there. But when you start the game, those are the environments at the start of the game.
so map size compared to previous titles, bigger?
Slightly bigger, and it might span multiple screens. What I want to do with the Symphony of the Serpent is to have a lot more where you move around and the screen moves with you, like the worlds are bigger. Right now, like when you go to a screen, everything exists in the one screen. The only exception to that was in Lust Epidemic. When you left the building and you went to the outside world in Lust Epidemic, that screen was actually big enough to where you could, when you moved around the screen, we would have to move with you because it was such a big screen. The idea with Symphony of the Serpent is to kind of bring that back to where the world that surrounds you exists beyond the borders of the edges of your screen. And so that will probably make the home world span multiple screens, or at least have to scroll. We'll kind of see how that plays out, but yeah, it'll be slightly bigger.
Nice. Just do a quick little run through of the characters.
Yeah, let's see. As far as the characters, be careful not to say ones that I'm not allowed to say yet. But
I'm intrigued by Margaret the most, 'cause she seems to be the most divisive of the lot.
Margaret is essentially the nun character that the game must have. But yeah, she's going to be different. She's not an evil character like Madeline. She's not a naive character like Judy. She's going to be oldest character in the, well, not the oldest character, the oldest looking character, because Nadia was pretty dang old. um, the oldest looking character.
Yeah, the oldest realistic character, I guess is what you. Yeah.
Yeah, she's gonna be very different than most of the characters uh, in the previous titles. I guess to kind of go down the list, I'll go down the list and I'll be vague when I need to be vague. Okay, so got the core 10 girls. Is Margaret, which is Mother Margaret. She's the head of the parish. Julia, who is the woman with the gigantic boobs and the green dress. She's the motherly type. Grace is her daughter. Layla is the friend of Nia. She's a very nerdy girl who's very, very quirky, but she will have a job working for Amanda Bancroft. Probably not directly under her, but in the same company. Then there's a mystery woman who I will not mention. Then there's Amira, the governor of Escovia. Then there's Lola, the girl from the trailer who's in the cave, who looks like a stripper because she is a stripper. But she has a secret identity as well. Then there's going to be Anya, who is a rich, world famous tennis star who lives in Escovia, and her home court is essentially in Emerald Ridge. She's a very, very competitive woman who's very, very in shape, very rich too. Then there's Olivia, who is the therapist in the game. She doesn't work for, but she works with Amira's son, who is named Baco, because Baco was raised by Politik's mother. So he has his own, he's rich and didn't earn a single penny of it. So you can imagine what his personality is like. Then there's Nia, who is the waitress that you see in the trailer, girl walking through the restaurant with the bouncing boobs. She's one of the waitresses. So those are your core 10. So the story is going to revolve around those core 10 women. Then there's the mythical girls. There is a goddess in the game who is based off of a real character. Then there's 2 demons in the game that are based off a real character. And there might be other demons in the game. And other angels in the game too. But I won't mention those yet. The side quest girls, the dating sim girls, who will not be part of the main story, but you will be able to interact with them, are Kelly and Autumn. Those 2 work at the Velvet Mirage. That's the strip club. There's Nora and Lucy. They're the nurses at the hospital. And then there's the waitresses, Madison and Divya, who work with Nia, but they'll have their own side story. So those are the six girls currently that you will be able to woo in the game and earn scenes with, separate from the main storyline. The main storyline male characters are Ethan. He's the main character.
Do we have a job title for Ethan?
His job?
Yeah.
He is jobless at the beginning of the game. Yeah, at the beginning of the game, he is suffering from amnesia from an injury. And he's being, I don't know if it'll be chapter 1 or exactly when this all happened, but he will be in the hospital, and he will befriend the Millers, who basically look after him while he's gaining his foot in this, after having lost his memory. So the Millers are Julie and Grace, the mother and daughter, and then the brother Elijah, and then the father Daniel. Daniel is also probably a pretty funny character. Then there's God, who I will not say which God it is. Could be Zeus, could be someone else. Who knows? Could be all of them. He's gonna be an interesting character. If you look closely in the trailer, he looks like he might have a few screws loose. There's Alexander, the political advisor to Amira. Then there's the club owner, Tony, who might be a bit sketchy.
Is he Italian?
And, well, I mean, of course, right?
Yeah.
And then there's going to be a gang of people kind of Ethan's age. There's Leon and Jackson. And Jackson is kind of a funny character too. Not the toughest character, although he thinks he is. Then there's a priest called Edmund, who basically works with Sister Margaret. He's a grumpy guy. Don't expect Brian. He's not cool like Brian. Then there's Amira's son, Baco, who is, like I said before, he was raised with a lot of money, and his mother's the most famous person in the city. So just imagine how insufferable he is. Yeah, that's him. Then there's some other characters that are unnamed. There's security guards, policemen, nuns, male nurses, and gang members and lab workers. Those are all characters that will be modeled in the game, but not have names or stuff like that. So yeah, that's basically a rundown of the characters in the game that I'm allowed to say.
Thank you for listening, and I hope you enjoyed that. Stick around as I have much more to share in the future. And as always, hit like, hit subscribe, and I'll catch you in the next one. Peace out.